Hi, and welcome to Serenity Now, a place for entrepreneurs to ask questions, learn, get connected, and be inspired. Join us as we talk about all things business and the search for the ever-elusive Serenity Now in both business and personal life.
Josephina, why should we listen to this episode today?
I think because most businesses will land here at some point. And so I feel like whether it's 2 years in, 5 years in, 7 years in, I'm sure that people experience this. And I think that getting an outsider's perspective on this is sometimes all you really need, because it's tunnel vision. You're in it. You only are seeing it your way or the way that you've perceived the business. So I think that it could really help everyone, no matter what industry you're in.
And I would just say it would be to remind yourself of A, why you started it, and B, what's your end game? Because I don't think we've ever even considered what our end game is. We're so busy in the day to day. And we know why we started it, and it was because we love what we do. But where are we going? I don't know. So it could be to remind others to remember to check their game.
Welcome to this episode of Serenity Now for Entrepreneurs. I'm so excited to introduce our Serenity Sisters that we have on the call today, Rita, Peggy, Candace, and myself. And so Rita is our finance guru. She's everything finance, lending, etc. Peggy is our tax credit expert and consultant. And then Candace works with so many businesses on the accounting front and planning for that. And myself, Stephanie, I help businesses with government grant funding and to get access to different government grants. We are joined today by Josephina, Serra, and Lauren Webb of Form Collective, an interior design studio here in BC, Canada. So I would love to have Josephina for you to tell us a little bit more about your business and your partnership.
Great. Thanks, Stephanie. Myself and Lauren have been working as Form Collective since 2015. So we specialize in both commercial as well as residential interior design. We have 4 full-time interior designers on board, as well as 1 full-time operations manager in the office. And we have been experiencing steady growth, and we're now at a place that we just need a bit of help, looking to pivot a little bit.
So like many entrepreneurs, I'm sure you have challenges. Maybe you could share with us some of the specific challenges that you're looking at in your business right now, and maybe we can help you unpack those a little bit.
Our main challenge is we're a fee-for-service business, so we are growing steadily, but our income is not growing. Our overall income for the business keeps increasing, but with more design work equals more designers, which equals a larger office, more programs, and more expenses. So our overall income that we take home individually has remained the same for the last 5 years. And the overall net income at the end of the year is basically the same as well. So we're looking on how to expand our business with a little bit less hourly work.
I think that's everybody's challenge.
I guess what you're saying is, a bum in a seat equals revenue. And you can't change that kind of model that you've currently got in place unless you just simply add more bums in a seat. But it's not changing your bottom line. So
Exactly.
And perhaps also am I hearing a little bit of, a little bit of stagnation maybe as well? Is that the other piece?
So 2020, things slowed down and then we hit blast off. Like we were so busy for 2 years and then we hired 2 more employees. Things were really going well. And then now I feel like we've just been coasting and we're not where we would hope to be.
The most interesting thing about it is we have received more publication. We've won awards. We've grown on social media. So our brand is larger and stronger than ever. So it's interesting that we're in this place and it just doesn't seem to align with where we're at, because all we hear from people is, wow, like, I can't believe you guys won that award or you got that project, or this week we were in another magazine. And it's so interesting because what it appears like and then where we are, they're just, for some reason, they're not aligned right now. We're not sure why.
Sounded like at the beginning of our discussion, just before we started this episode, that you had some ideas already on ways that you could be developing either some passive income or a different revenue model. Maybe share ideas on what you've come up with already, and then let's have the Serenity Sisters chime in on our thoughts on that.
Sure. So the first one to start with is implementing a fixed fee structure. So what we're considering is a low, medium, high offering where if a client comes to us, they can decide the level of service that they could get, hoping to upsell them a little bit to that more full service elite experience, which would include more revenue to us. Hopefully, if we can get the projects done efficiently on time, we could experience growth in the sense that we would be charging for not only our design hours, but any additional time that is unused could be captured as income for our business. So that one's the most attractive, easy thing to start out with, where we don't have to change much else as far as our business goes at this point.
And I understand with interior design, there's also furniture sales and potentially passive income. So maybe just help our audience understand a little bit about what are the options there. And then we can do a quick, circle around the Serenity Sisters and unpack a little bit of our thoughts on that.
So the furniture, so when we have a client working with us, they usually have to furnish their project at the end. We get to sell them furniture. Our service is really good because we manage all of the purchasing. If anything goes wrong, we'll take care of it. I'm confident we offer a very good service as far as that goes. But often there's project fatigue, especially with homeowners that, they've done a whole renovation or they've built a new house, and furniture, like that last 10% is really what makes the project shine, but it's also kind of what falls off when people get tight with their budget. And so we're trying to figure out, how do we really make the sale, sell all that furniture through our company, get it installed, and then make a percentage off of that furniture by using our brand partnerships that we have so far. So there's that piece. Or do we sell furniture online to people who maybe aren't our clients? Maybe they're just surfing the web, and we could do a curated marketplace for them where they could purchase furniture through us. So those are our two ideas as far as that goes.
Furniture can be very lucrative for us because we can't buy wholesale for a lot of it. So we would like to do more of it. We're just trying to figure out what is the best approach.
I do want to just make it clear, while this is an interior design service-based business, all of us are service-based businesses. So the things that you have been considering or are considering now are definitely things that many service-based businesses would also consider in terms of creating some passive income or alternative revenue streams. So I'm going to point to Rita first, because there's definitely something brewing in that head of yours. I just know it, just in terms of strategy and whatnot. And so go girl.
She always picks me. I will one of these days, somebody pick on someone else. All right. So ladies, congratulations on all these awards that you've just mentioned, very blasé, that you've won, that don't sound like they mean something to you, but I just want to congratulate you on that. And I think it's important to take a moment. And I know it probably because it happened a while ago, I'm already past that. I need to move on, and I'm trying to figure out the next step. But sometimes as entrepreneurs and just regular folks, we don't take the moment to just enjoy and appreciate how far we've come. So congratulations on that. So the next piece is, you mentioned that you're trying to pivot. You're looking at different ideas. Have your end goals changed for the business? That's always my first question is, what are your ideas for the business itself? You've done a successful job. Some people could say you could exit now, you could walk away now, you could, but what is it that you guys are trying to focus on?
I guess that's where we don't have an answer. I think we just enjoy our work, and maybe that's what's missing. We don't have an exact end goal. Do you, Josephina?
It's interesting. I feel like the reason we have been successful in our business is because we're able to pivot. So when things happen or we feel like there's a weakness in the business or something needs to change, we work so well together that we see what that weakness is and we pivot, make changes, adapt. When we felt communication wasn't the strongest, we hired Jackie on our team, who's operations. And so this is the first time in our business that we just don't know. We feel almost like we're so invested in it that we can't see where to go from here, if that makes sense. Whereas that's always been our strength. It's been one of the things that we're most proud of, is being able to pivot, and we just don't know. So we're feeling stuck.
So at this point, I would suggest look at your end goal. Do you want to grow or whatever the end goal is? Obviously you don't want to stay where you are. That's been clear from your conversation. So I worked with Stephanie a long time ago, and one of the things I said to her, because I had done it in my own business, and I've offered this advice to other entrepreneurs, is look at your business and break it apart and see what parts of your business are the most profitable. And if you find a pattern where the profitability is high, maybe that's where you focus. The other thing that, and you'll see when you do this type of jobs or when you sell furniture, etc., you'll figure out where you make your most money. And it seems to me that you guys want to be more profitable. You only have limited hours. So obviously using your hours to get the most out of those hours is the best idea. Second bit, and I'm not going to get too deep into any of this, but consider the model for growth of using subcontractors more. You only have X number of hours in a day. You can't pay for someone to be in a seat 8 hours a day, 4 or 5 days a week, because that's a cost that you might not be able to recover. But think about the things that you can confidently subcontract out, because those are the things that you can do a pay as you use basis, right? And some of those things might be the less critical aspects of what you as individual designers do. We all have service businesses. And one of the things that I found very helpful was to take tasks that were a waste of my time and employ someone at a lower dollar per hour rate to do those things and use my time for the most profitable areas of my business, therefore giving me greater capacity. But the analysis of your business and the subcontract model as a way to grow, those are two things. One, to increase profitability on the things you do, and the other one to reduce costs on the things as you grow.
It's not as much as on the accounting side, but we've just done this with because accounting, tax, compliance services, advisory, it's all service-based businesses. And we've kind of actually reformed the way we run our own business over the last year. And so there's two things. I mean, obviously you can increase fees, but I don't know if you have too many clients or not enough clients. So that may not be an option. I don't know. Or you can make your services more efficient. And one of those ways is what Peggy just alluded to, was parceling out parts of the job that you don't have to do. We've just went through our whole firm and we've discovered that, we have people like I have accountants that are supposed to be doing analysis and advisory, doing basically administrative stuff, because everything that we do has like an administrative aspect to it. And basically, we've created another accountant by not allowing them to do that work anymore. So because we've systemized all of the work that we do so that all of the easy stuff can be done by somebody that doesn't necessarily have to be trained in whatever service it is that you're providing. It's a lot of work, but the benefits are astronomical, because then that extra bum in the seat is allowing your designers to do more design work. So you're being more efficient with the people that you have at a lower cost, if that makes sense. I noticed, and one of the things that you talked about too is that you love doing the design work and you're being pulled away from that to run your business. So maybe hiring a business manager so that you are the designers again is something that you could also look at. Again, I don't know if that would work in your business, but I think some strategic planning might be in your future.
The other thing I was going to say, and this is my third point that I forgot at the time, is most women I find don't charge enough. We tend to undervalue our services. And so if your profits are staggering and your growth is there, I wonder if your price is right, if you're winning awards, right?
This is something we struggle with all the time. And we worked with a business coach a few years ago, and she taught us that. She said, unapologetically charge what you know you're worth and your time is worth. And we started to do that, and we landed a number of projects at that time. And we've continued to do that. But then we know we lose some projects that we wish we had because of our pricing. So I don't think we can increase our prices at this point. But that's where the fixed fee could really help, because if we can become more efficient, raise our fees a little bit, and then charge that fixed fee rate and save on hours there, we could increase our profitability there. But as far as our hourly rate, I don't think we can increase it.
Once you do the fixed price, you're going to see very quickly whether that is the profit point that you want it to be. And then maybe the other work that you do hourly, here you may be able to bill for hours you're not using. There's going to be a give and take on that, though. Some jobs you're going to spend more time than you are going to recover on the fixed fee. So
I think these are all good ideas. And again, once you take some time individually and then come back together again as to what the end goals are, it'll help solidify some of these pieces for you. But just going back to what Peggy and Candace have been talking about is understanding the actual costing model, which really helps you with understanding, what those margins are. And again, if you're not, maybe a few years ago, you did the exercise of the pricing, but maybe it's time to revisit that and maybe you may or may not have kept up with what everybody else is looking at and or doing, and or maybe I hear it all the time, and Peggy, you're right, it's like you're scared to make that change, or you're concerned about what that looks like. You mentioned also, Lauren, a moment ago that, you might not have gotten some of the projects, but to me, I don't want to get every project. I want to be able to take the ones that make sense both for me and for the client that I'm trying to support and help them get a win and move them forward. One thing I haven't heard you make mention of is, what are the customers telling you that they want? So if they are saying that they're tired by the end of it and haven't figured out the furniture, then why not template out a model that allows you to talk about that right from the very get-go as part of your entire sales process? So sometimes you have to really do another dive in as you continue your growth to, how does my whole process work? And maybe it's time to update that piece of the puzzle. I'm not a big fan of going into manufacturing or doing anything like that, because you're in the business of what you're doing. So affiliate stuff, or being able to just link up to somebody else that allows a customer to get a good price to make them feel good, but also give you something that's almost like gravy for you, is also great. So I think I do it more like an addition, like a support to the customer, where they feel like they're getting something like a bonus. And then that way you can build it into your kind of sales process a little bit easier. So not really, again, like, which business are you actually in? And then the whole pricing model and such like that. So you're trying to create like some tiers, but I actually, you guys are on the other side of it. I think all the other folks are managing stuff like that. And you've won these awards. You've earned, your position where you're sitting at. So why not continue going down that and just become the elite and be the ones that people, they seek after you. You're sought after now. And, because of those things. So instead of looking at other things, embrace where you're at and continue with that thought process. And then that way, again, it kind of moves to your passion. You had mentioned earlier, I love this part of the process. And so it just kind of elevates who you are again.
So I feel with service-based businesses, we often want to be everything to everyone. And what I would just caution you on, because I've made this mistake, is definitely what Rita was saying. What are the customers actually asking for? So maybe from your perspective, it's less work to be able to do it in this package piecemeal way. And is that actually what the market is dictating and asking for? And it might be. I don't know the industry well enough. The other piece that I would say that I just spoke with someone who was super wise and helped me even get my business started is, consider why you started this business. Was it for the ability to be more flexible with your own time? And if you're not capturing that, then I would put yourself and your family and the immediate stakeholders that really matter to you the most first. And that's something that I had lost in terms of my path along the way in growing my service-based business. Is I kept thinking about my staff. I kept thinking about my contractors. I kept thinking about my clients before I thought of how this business impacts me as a person, my family, and my partner. And so I feel like that's a great starting point. When you think strategy, please don't just think of the business and how you want to, but also what is the business that you really want to grow?
The other thing I was going to mention was just, who are your customers? And if you can categorize your customers and understand what class of customers you have and which ones are the most profitable, then that might give you direction in where your market niche is. And that's an exercise we've all done in our businesses. And we've dropped some of the customers that don't fit our ideal customer model. Literally used to rate our customers if they were difficult to work with, if they were, low profitability. We just dropped them. And I think a purge of clients every now and again is really healthy. You guys may have more one-time use type clients. I'm not sure. But if you have an ability to categorize your customers and understand what is your ideal customer, it's going to give you some real insight into what your pricing should be and what your model should be overall.
Just one final thought about, people talk about it all the time. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But as you go through the planning process, thanks, Steph, for kind of, again, going back to the beginning as to the why, and then we go to the end goals and kind of making sure that's cemented, and then you can build a roadmap out beautifully on that. But I think that we also need to have a solid understanding on how does it, again, how does it all fit into the big picture? And that customer understanding, and maybe you've changed, maybe you've grown, maybe it's a little bit different. We had a chat earlier today, and I don't want to walk into it at all, but, I'm sure you guys have considered some thoughts on AI and strategy in there, but that's just such a loaded topic. So I'm just going to stop right there. But I'm sure those are some of the thoughts that you've considered as well.
So what we'll do now is quick fire. And that gives us an opportunity to ask any clarifying questions, maybe add in something that we weren't able to get in earlier, or also echo different sentiments that have been shared today. I'll go first, and then I'll choose Candace, because apparently I choose Rita all the time. And so I do feel like where you're at, and it's so interesting because I think Peggy and we spoke about this before, but 1 year into the business, you're like, okay, this is really what I want to do. 3 years in, you're like, okay, now I need to start looking at scaling. 7 years in, like any relationship, and a business is like a relationship, you get that 7-year itch. I know you're on the 8th year now, but it's like, what do we do? Or this is really what we want to do. And then 10 years and 12 years brings you, don't want to spoil it for you, but brings you kind of the next level of thinking. And so as you go through this, just please come back to the why behind what it is that you want to do. And that often will point you, and the universe will point you into the best direction. And I know for a market like this that's so competitive, you do want to capture as many clients as possible. However, if it's not the most profitable for you, turning business away ends up saving you time, energy, opportunity to, it's an opportunity cost also when you take on projects that don't align with what really resonates with you. So
we know that one well.
So Candace, what would you say?
I'm just going to reiterate some of the things that were already said. Know who your good clients are. Don't be afraid to say no to bad clients because they just suck the life out of you. And as much as you can, be really clear on what your processes are and try and offload some of that easier work to people that don't necessarily need to be trained for the work.
Peggy?
I'm going to say much the same thing. Know who your customers are. Look at your customers and offload the ones that are costing you money. That's really, really important. And know your pricing. And when I say know your pricing, anticipate all the things that could go wrong. Price yourself properly. Be proud of your high price because you've earned it.
And of course, Rita.
Again, I just want to say congratulations on all that you guys have done so far, because sometimes we forget to say that. I echo what the sisters are saying as well. I really want you guys to do a deep dive into the why and the end goals. I really want you to consider asking all the clients that you've already worked with so far some of the wants and needs maybe they have, because there could be some potential for recurring. There could be some potential for some other pieces to the puzzle instead of creating a brand new idea altogether. And secondly, sometimes we forget about our staff. Staff are amazing. Our staff are so innovative. It's actually written into the agreement that, we expect some innovation from everyone as they go through the company. And then we see an innovation, boom, you do a check mark and then you hit bonus. And everyone's like, what did I do? I don't think I really did anything, but they get excited. They also, get more invested and engaged. And so some things you may not be seeing, your staff might be hearing. So don't forget the power of that. And finally, at this stage of the game, I think it's great to bring in an external third party. And that external third party will help you likely whiteboard it out, engage maybe the customers, maybe engage the staff. It's going to be a little bit different than perhaps what you're used to, but maybe you're ready for that now. So just a couple of pieces there.
I love it. And for Lauren and Josephina, any kind of learnings or additional tidbits that you'd like to share with our audience today?
I feel like we've stayed very lean. Like we try really hard to see what can we, outsource, what can we pass on. And I'm sure that if we dug down even deeper, we could probably find more stuff that we can pass on. And I think because we've been doing this for so many years, there's probably more. If a third party came in, they could probably see that it doesn't have to be us doing all the things that we feel like we need to. I think it's almost, it's our baby. It's, the business. It's one of those things, like, I think we feel like we need to do a lot more than we probably do. So we could probably offboard. And I think also maybe when you said that, I started thinking about even having our operations really help us look into that as well. Because this last year, working with just our accountant, we've realized how many different programs there are that could do a lot of the things that we had no idea could be done by using a program. We always thought it had to be another position or another bum in the office that needed to do that. But we've realized, oh my gosh, like it's just the programs are endless. So maybe, putting more effort into that and exploring that a little bit more, because that's just something that we've done in the last probably couple months, really. Before that, we thought we were on top of things, but then after that one session, our minds were blown because we had no idea.
And I think we know exactly who our best client is and the profile of that. And we know, like when you were talking about profitability, we already know what that is. It's just how to get that client, because those clients, there's very few of them compared to the middle of the line client. So that's where our struggle is. And maybe it's just our marketing or really being confident of our niche and our pricing. I don't know, because I feel like we really know who that client is. It's just how to get them.
Yeah, maybe we have to go back and talk to those clients and find out what they like, what they didn't like what would have made it, like what would make them come back to us type of thing. And so, yeah, that's where my brain's going right now, is maybe we just have to dig deeper.
Yeah. And also, how would they refer people who are part of their community, right? So that they know, hey, we're looking to do a deeper dive, would love to understand what were the key things in your experience, and then having even a couple of case studies to show. And so that when people see this and they're like, yeah, that's exactly who I am. That's exactly how I want to work with a design firm. And so that pulls that attraction in. So I feel like the wheels are turning. There are some things that you've probably heard or you are trying already. And hopefully there are other things that will bring you back to that strategic side of what's the why behind it? How would you consider that on your customer side of things? And then it sounds already like there's some opportunity to capture more information to make that decision correct for your business. So again, huge congratulations for Form Collective. Lauren, Josephina, thank you so much for joining us today. We hope that this episode brought you some serenity. And for our listeners, learning from some of the examples that we discussed today, we hope that this also brings you some serenity now. Thank you.
Thank you.
We hope you enjoyed this episode and picked up some good tips and best practices that would benefit your entrepreneurial journey. Remember, none of the content in this podcast should be relied upon as standard legal or business advice. Always consult a professional for your specific business. You may know someone who could benefit from this podcast. Please share it with your business community, and perhaps it can give an entrepreneur some serenity now.